All right, next question is from Waffle 101. He says, what's better, bodyweight training or weights? I think he means for mixed martial arts or street fighting.
Right. I like both, but I don't do as much weights. I find weights gets me more tired, so I'll keep the volume of weights that I do really low. I think you can get really strong on weights, and I think it builds bone density. It's excellent for keeping your body healthy if you have proper form. Okay, so make sure that any exercise you do, if you do deadlift, squat, bench, you have the proper form. Seek an expert's advice. We'll try to probably make videos in the future about proper form. That's super important. I'm a big believer in proper form. And when it comes to bodyweight exercises, I can do them almost every day and I never feel sore. So bodyweight exercises keep you fresher. You could do more often. They're much safer than weightlifting. And what I really love about it most is it doesn't interfere with my jiu-jitsu, my boxing, my wrestling. Whereas when I do weights, I don't feel I can do as many rounds of MMA the next day. So I keep the weights about once to twice a week, sometimes once a month even, but the body weights, I'll do them almost daily, and I feel good when I do body weights. The only thing I will do, the only kind of weight I will do often, like 3-4 times a week, is kettlebell. I feel really comfortable on kettlebell. I don't get sore when I do kettlebell, so I'll swing a kettlebell sometimes every day for like 3 weeks, and then after that I might be doing body weight for 2 weeks, so I'm always mixing and matching. But when we're talking about barbells and heavy weights, I don't do it that often. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I agree. I like plyometric stuff when I'm doing weights. It's not necessarily that heavy, but I like throwing weight around, emulating the movements that I'll be doing when I'm throwing punches. But you're right, like if I'm doing heavy squats and then I go to hit the heavy bag the same day or the next day, and we talked about it yesterday as well, like if I do a heavy squat day, the next day I get in a fight with someone, my legs, I can't even get out of bed, and now I got to fight someone. That's a bad position to be in. And some people will say, yeah, but you can't gain strength without heavy weights, but there's plenty of exercise. I mean, can you do a muscle up? Can you do handstand push-ups and stuff like that? Those are still just weight.
Well, if you look at gymnasts, they don't use any weights, and they're the most powerful pound-for-pound athletes. I mean, if you try to get into one of their positions, you take a bodybuilder, he will not be able to get into their positions. He does not have the power. So it also depends how you define power. A gymnast won't be able to move a bar like a powerlifter. So what type of power do we need for fighting?
Right.
I think it's more the type of power of a gymnast. You need to be able to move your body instead of just being like a tow truck. You know, a powerlifter often they're like a tow truck. You know, they're gonna grab you and they can lift, but only in this one perfect plane. If things are perfectly aligned.
Symmetrical.
Yeah, it has to be perfectly symmetrical. Whereas a gymnast will move in a three-dimensional fashion, in a much more coordinated fashion, and that's more about martial arts. So for me, the gymnast wins all the time. But I still do barbell because it builds bone density. It does, you know, so when you do a double leg, I mean, you're nice and aligned and you're symmetrical, you're supposed to be. So I think both worlds have something to give, but bodyweight has more to give. Kettlebell, in my opinion, has more to give. So that's where I like it.
Yeah, I read an article that said the only sport that you're going to be symmetrically split down the half, doing everything's even, is rowing. Through doing this. Everything else, whether you're playing hockey or a mixed martial artist, you're going to be moving on 2 different planes. It's not going to be symmetrical down the center. So you should do single leg squats, pistol squats, or one-arm push-ups and stuff like that. So that's another thing that you get out to your training as well. All right, next one is from Plague Doc. He says, I have a question regarding MMA. How do I build up my height of my head kicks and flexibility? I am a flexible guy, but I'd like to see my head kick be able to reach a little bit further up.
You know, I'll tell you one thing. I've wrestled a lot of guys who do a lot of flexibility. I've wrestled guys who do like 2 hours of flexibility a day, and these guys usually are weaker. You know, I'll tell you, when you lock up with them, they feel weaker, and I'm not sure why that is. It's just been my personal experience, guys. Don't take offense if you like yoga and stuff like that, but there's 2 types of flexibility. There's dynamic flexibility and there's static flexibility. Static flexibility is when you stretch and you just hold it there. But the thing is, what you're asking the muscle to do is just to relax, and in that specific position. Okay, there's something called the set principle in sports science. Okay, it's a specific adaptation to impose demand. Whatever you ask your body to do, whatever training stimulus you give your body, that's exactly what it's going to give you back. So if you teach your body to stretch in a static position, you're only going to get more flexible in this exact scenario, static. So if you are a martial artist and you want to kick higher, you have to do something we call dynamic flexibility. Like, for instance, kicking your leg up like this. You know, over time, over reps and reps, you're going to develop a higher and higher range of motion. And with that speed and that power, a lot of coaches call it activation, etc. You could also jump in the air and do a star jump, like they say, split your legs in the air. It needs to have that dynamic element. Why? Because one, you're building not only flexibility, but strength. Obviously in fighting, you're not in a static position. So I would tell you, dynamic flexibility before and after practice, your kicks will go higher and higher, and they will have that power. So power for me is something I never want to give up on. What do you do, Shane?
Can I disagree with you? You're gonna
Absolutely.
beat me up?
No.
I agree because I agree that with what he's saying, because my old Muay Thai coach, Kuru Rigel, was a big guy. He couldn't do a full split, but he could kick over my head, and we were the same height. So he understood the mechanics. He had flexible hips. He was able to bring his knee high. He could extend his legs. So that I agree with. The only thing is, if you are really good at the dynamic and you can bring your leg up and you extend your leg, you could pull something. So I think that you should still do the static stretches as well as the dynamic. And the other thing about like the swinging ones, we call that ballistic. And if you do that too much or you don't properly warm up, you could stretch too far and pull something. So similar to that is movement to stretch out, but I think it's more controlled. So things like dropping down and just coming out to the side and moving and working those same muscles, but without really forcing them or throwing them, without that bouncing motion.
I think you're right. I think if you're becoming a more advanced athlete, you can do dynamic warm-up. Like a lot of Olympians just do dynamic warm-up, where they jump up and they start with explosive stuff right away, but their body's conditioned to do that. One step down would be mobility. So if you're less of an active person, start with mobility. That's a good point. Don't go dynamic right away. You'll tear your hamstring. So a good reference for mobility training, the best reference in the world in my opinion, is Kelly Starrett. His book is called The Supple Leopard. I work with him myself. He works with George St. Pierre. He's a phenomenal trainer. He teaches you how to keep your body healthy and mobile. Range of motion must always be taken care of. You must never lose your range of motion, because that's the heart of injury. Once you don't have your range of motion anymore and you go to throw a punch or a kick, or you go to double leg somebody, your shoulder will pop. So be careful. Range of motion, that's a good point. Mobility training, and of course dynamic stretching for those guys who are more experienced.
All right, next question is from David Krolak. Says, how much time off training should someone take after they've gotten knocked out hard?
Well, that's a question for your doctor, okay? But I've spoken to many doctors about this, because obviously I've had guys get knocked out. I think you should take a lot of time off, and a lot of time off training as well. A lot of time off stress, a lot of time off TV, noise. You gotta let the brain recoup. I really believe in going with the symptoms. From talking to doctors, they always ask me, what's the guy's energy level like? How's his clarity of thought? If your mind is still foggy, if you feel like you just woke up, and you have that feeling all day long that you're groggy and your mind is not clear, you probably still have concussion symptoms. You can get an MRI. I really highly recommend you go see your doctor. The most dangerous thing is not the broken bones, it's the concussion. Okay? It can affect you psychologically, it can affect you neurologically, and if you come back too soon, it's going to be lights out over and over again. I've seen guys with great chins, and then they get knocked out, and they're back in the gym too early, and then they get knocked out over and over again, and that great chin is gone. So I really recommend you do some research on concussions, you take your time, and speak to your doctor and get that MRI. That MRI, you can't be too safe with concussions, Shane. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And don't forget, too, that a lot of injuries happen during training, during sparring. Not even necessarily during a fight. Maybe not so much a tristar, I'm not sure. But a lot of gyms, some guys will go too hard, and you can get hit again, and then the symptoms will start coming back if you got into it too soon. So definitely be careful and skip out on the training and do cardio instead, or build back up doing slower paced things. All right, guys, thanks for watching. You have to check out Firas' channel. He's got a ton of information on there, fight breakdowns, nutrition, fitness, mixed martial arts. Link is in the description below. And we were talking a little bit about coming out to the Tristar Gym and training, right? Tell me about that.
I would love to have Shane over, live in the dorms, Tristar dorms, go through a training camp, and maybe get Shane a jiu-jitsu super fight or something like that, put him through the paces, give him the old Tristar experience, and take you guys along with us and show you what we do there.
Yeah, what do you guys think? Comment below if you'd like to see me training with Firas at his gym up in Canada and competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Something I've never done before. So let us know. And again, subscribe to this man, please. I beg of you. All right, I want to see 500,000 subscribers on his channel when I go over and look. All right, until next time, I'm Shane. This is Firas.
Coach Firas Zahabi here.
Until next time.
All right, guys.
See you later. Cool.